All right. So we've talked about our conscious, our subconscious, our creative subconscious. Now we're going to spend some time on how do we start building our subconscious in a way that lines up with our goals, our desires, and in some cases, what we need. All right. So first of all, let's we're going to take a trip back in time to 8th grade science. All right. So in 8th grade science, there was this concept of gravity. And what is gravity, or how is it defined in those science classes? Do you recall? Yep. Okay. So gravity was defined as a force that pulls, right? It's a force that pulls. And what are the two pieces of this definition that are important to remember around forces that pull? So bigger objects, so the bigger the object, the stronger the pull. Right? So the bigger the object, the stronger the pull. And what about the second thing? The smaller the object, the weaker the pull. So the larger the object, the larger the pull. The smaller the object, the weaker the pull. So when we look at this particular diagram, so we have two planets in a spaceship. So we have the little planet, we have the big planet, and we have the spaceship. Which of these planets will the spaceship be drawn to, given this rule of gravity? It's a force that pulls, and the two things to remember, that the bigger the object, the stronger the pull, the smaller the object, the weaker the pull. So which of these will our spaceship be drawn towards? That's right, it'll be drawn towards the larger planet. Why? Because it's bigger, right? That's the whole concept of gravity. So if we are, metaphorically, the masters of our universe, and we control what's created in our universe, we get to design what our universe looks like, metaphorically speaking. Can I use this rule of gravity to my advantage? All right, so let's say I want to move this spaceship away from this planet and towards this planet. Can I use the rule of gravity to do that if I'm the creator of this universe? Yeah, I can. I'll show you in just a second. All right, so first of all, when we want to change things in our subconscious, we have to understand this principle of gravity. All right? So first of all, let's call this planet old behavior. All right? And we're going to call this planet new behavior. So explain to me, why is it difficult for people to change using this model? Because their old behavior is so much greater than their new behavior. All right? So if I want to change this using this gravity model, can I change this if I'm the creator of this universe, metaphorically speaking? Yes, I can. The first thing that I must do is that I must make the mass on this side of this new behavior greater than the mass of my old behavior. Now, this is really interesting because I've learned this from car dealers because they're good at this. They are excellent at this. what happens what's one of the things that car dealers want you to do before you leave their lot? So you show up on their lot, you look at a couple of cars, you kick the tires, you close the doors and that kind of stuff. What's one of the first things that they want you to do? They want you to take the car for a test drive. Why? Well, let's examine what a new car is like. So a new car, you sit in the new car, and what does it feel like as you sit there? For the most part, it's pretty comfortable. What does it look like when you're inside? Things are sparkly, shiny, new, right? You turn on the radio and it sounds crisp and clear. All the wipers and all those things work. They even have a special fragrance that they use for these cars called the new car smell, right? So you have all of these things and you test drive it and it's smooth and it's nice and it's fabulous. And then you bring it back to the lot and you get out and you get back into your car with the French fries and the smashed Cheerios in the back seat and the papers and all of that stuff. How do you feel about your car? Not very good, right? Because the dealers have done such a good job of building this new behavior for you, making this so much greater than your old behavior. So, to change this gravitational pull, you must change your habits, your attitudes, your beliefs, your efficacy. And what starts to happen once you start rebuilding these things? Does this old behavior still have the same kind of pull that it had before? No, it doesn't, right? Because you've shifted the gravitational pull towards these new things. You've made these bigger and better than what they were prior to that. All right. So, Andre, you've given us a lot of theoretical underpinnings. Let's get down to brass tacks. All right. So, let's talk about how we start changing these things and building these things up. So, I'm going to erase this. And we'll just make this planet new behavior. Okay, so that's all planet new behavior. So let's talk a little bit about how humans communicate with one another. All right. So how is it that humans communicate? How do we talk to each other, communicate? When I was a kid, and maybe still now, I like these characters called the X-Men. I like these characters called the X-Men. And the reason I like the X-Men, primarily because there was this one cool dude. He was a guy who was in a wheelchair, but he had mind control powers. He could move stuff, talk to people, all sorts of stuff. Didn't even have to move his wheelchair, right? And I always wanted those powers. And then one day I realized that we have those powers and we use them every day. Now I know some of you are like, what are you talking about, Andre? Well, I'll show you. So how do humans communicate? We communicate through pictures, right? And I'll give you an example. I've been in the grocery store, and there, where I live, we have multicultural grocery stores and communities all over the place, and oftentimes I'm in the grocery store and I'll hear someone speaking a language that I'm familiar with the language, but I don't know what they're saying, so I don't know what they're saying, and then all of a sudden they will say a word that I know, and I'm chimed in, right? I'm not trying to be nosy, but they did say something that was familiar to me. And so all the other time they're speaking these words, but I don't have a picture for those words. And when they say a word that I have a picture for, then I'm chimed in, I'm bought in, I'm understanding what they're talking about, or I have a desire to understand what they're talking about. All right? So humans communicate through pictures. All right? So here's another example. If you close your eyes and I said the word apple, what comes up for you? Some people say red, some would say Steve Jobs, other people would say a tree, so forth and so on. And you get those images because we communicate through pictures. Now, how do I get my pictures to you? I create these things called words. So the words that I use give you specific and particular pictures. For example, I just said apple and you gave me examples of apples. Had I said rotten apple, you would have got a different picture in your mind based on the words that I used. All right? So the words that we use are important to get the kind of pictures that we want. And our pictures determine or impact our emotions. All right? So the words that we use impact the pictures that we hold or the images that we hold of ourselves or of other people, and those impact our emotions. Have you heard anyone ever say a picture is worth 1,000 words? Right? Yeah. So you can see more things in terms of emotions and feelings and settings, and all of these things can be demonstrated in a picture so much more effectively than they can be with words. All right? And those pictures stimulate our emotions. And our emotions are the fuel we have to do things. All right? It's at the core of our motivation to do things are these things called emotions. And our emotions impact our behavior. All right? How we act. How we act. So words, pictures, emotions impact our behaviors. It's very interesting to me that I've watched those late night programs like Feed the Hungry Children and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I think is really interesting is that they show these kids in these really horrible situations. And some of them have flies on their heads and they're crawling out of, just horrible situations, and they're asking people to help them. Well, they show those particular pictures because they want you to have a particular emotion of what? For some folks, it's guilt. For others, it's responsibility. But they want a particular kind of emotion because they want some specific behaviors from folks. And what are those behaviors that they want from those shows? They want people to donate money or donate time or even some resources to their cause. And so the word, picture, emotions, and behavior model really can serve us well once we understand that that's what happens with marketing. That's what happens in our relationships, that oftentimes people have different pictures, and so they have different emotions, which is indicated by their different behaviors. But we can use this to help build our habits, our attitudes, and our beliefs and our efficacy in the direction of our goals. So we're going to talk about this model